Hey everybody, welcome to the RHS status quo 0.10 update video. So the reason behind this is that we don't really see, or at least I don't really see any videos appearing from third parties that um, overview new additions to mods as they come out for Reforger. I think this is really due to the fact that the modding scene is really quite different than previous Arma games, but I thought would be really nice to have this kind of content out there that will actually preview some of the things that are coming out in new updates. We haven't done this before, so this is going to be a first try. I mean, in the team we used to do some overview videos for older Arma games for our mods, but for Reforger we have not done anything like this outside of live streaming and showcasing some things. But I'm going to try to make this a regular thing, at least when we have something interesting and important to show. A new minor version release coming out would be one of those things, so this is what we're doing for 0.10. And let's see if maybe the format can improve over time, because what I'm going to do now is going to do it all in one go. I will edit some parts, of course, out, but this is going to be in a pre-release version of the mod. Of course, on experimental Arma, and we can expect some things not to work or be buggy, but that's okay. I mean, it is what it is. As for ones that don't know, we typically change the minor version, so going from 0.9 to 0.10 when Arma Reforger goes into experimental version mode. This has been the case for I think already a few months, at least 2 months, that Reforger 1.2.1 is waiting to hit stable. That means that the version 0.10 of RHS status quo is also only available on Experimental Workshop. So those of you who are only playing stable, of course, have not seen all the new things that we've been adding. One thing that I would like to point out is that you can read about most of the things that I will show and much more on our website. So if you go to rhsmods.org, you don't even need to add the docs. You'll be automatically redirected to this page. Go to status quo, changelog, and if you stay on the changelog main page here, you will get all the releases that we have done for 0.10 on the experimental branch. They are marked as such, and you can read about in detail about which issues have been fixed, which new additions have been made, and so on and so on. But until Arma Reforger hits stable, we're also unable to release it on stable. So we'll wait for that. This is also because we depend on some of the features that Arma Reforger has on stable, on experimental, in order to run this version. So if you go to the changelogs on our site, you will also find, of course, all the changelogs that have been archived from previous versions. And I would also like to point out to you, if you don't know already, that we do have a roadmap. So if you go to the roadmap part of the website, you can find some links to our GitHub account, where we list all the issues of things that we'd still like to add for phase 1. Phase 1 is something we designate as being the first major version of the mod, once we've added everything that we want for both factions, or now 3 factions actually, but the main ones still remain to be the AFRF and the USAF. And through this page you can find the links to our GitHub page with already some of the filters applied. So if you'd like to go to the US Blue 4 side, things that I would like to add, you will still see that for phase 1 we still have 43 open tickets. You can filter for open so that you can have an idea of what is it that we are still planning to add. Same thing for Red 4. You can have a look at the 22 still open tasks that we have. So that's in case you're wondering what's still coming before the mod becomes officially version 1. This is where you will find it. Now, moving on to the game, I will be performing the demo on the Workbench software. So this is the editing software for Arma Reforger. It allows me to drag things onto the scene quite easily, but you can find this showcase, asset showcase full in the game as well if you'd like to try it. It's just a simple small map that has a lot of things from our mod placed so you can test them out. So let's jump in. Lots of things to show. Hopefully everything goes okay. So we have this PS13G sight that we can also hoist on several other weapons, so it's not just for the SMAW. Let's get rid of the SMAW. Let's put on a nice M27. The site and should be able to find the PS13G also in the arsenal. That would be right here. Still worked. But basically it gives you some thermal capability, a new thermal sight capability on your M4 or AR-15 type of weapon. No worries about the bugs. That should be fixed for when it gets released. Alright, so one thing that you will probably know about new Arma Reforger 1.2.1 is that Bohemia has introduced silencers. So as you can see, previously we had silencers that were sort of welded to the gun. Now they are separated. So you can take them off and you will see that they come off together with any device, flash hider device that was already on the gun. So without it, it has normal sounds. Once we attach, you have obviously a silenced gun. Now we've added in our arsenals a bunch of different silencers, so let's have a look at what is available to us. But we also added flash suppressors. So these are devices that are able to remove the muzzle flash, but do not do too much in terms of silencing the gun. So one example of this is the Warden muzzle blast regulator. So I can also attach it to the gun. See, it's much shorter than a normal silencer. It has the same sound as the normal weapon, but the muzzle is greatly reduced, muzzle flash. So let's have a look what else we got. So we have them in black and sort of gold color. We have the standard muzzle devices, which, by the way, you also need to take off in order to fit silencers that you would actually attach to these muzzle devices. So Arma Reforger does not allow us to mount silencers like, for example, the fast attach suppressors, like the SOCOM 556, onto the muzzle device that's already on the gun. It has to come with the silencer, so unfortunately this double mounting system is not there yet. If it ever becomes possible in Arma Reforgers to do this, we will certainly make that enabled. So you can, if you have this muzzle device, you can see the flash is much bigger. You actually need to take it off in order to add a device that's compatible. We also have on the red side silencer capability. So let's take away our gun. For the AK-74, we have the, where is it? We have the TGP-A silencer. Blah, blah, blah. No. Because, of course, we need to take off the muzzle device. But you will also be able to find a silencer for your sniper rifle. So if we add a sniper rifle, we're able to add a TGP v2, which now means you can have silenced 7.62 on the sniper weapon. Blue sniper weapon, the M40, can also mount a silencer, and I believe this is that one. Yeah. So it's not just the reds that now have silent sniping capability. If we check out the third arsenal, here we find very often selection of weapons and attachments that are not exactly fitting into the blue 4 category. So commercially available firearms and attachments that are, let's say, are more for the mercenary market. So if you go into this arsenal, you'll also find a bunch of things that are, let's say, not fitting into the standard US military or the Russian military capabilities. One example of this is, for example, if we have a look at black CQBRs, Block 2s, and soon enough URGIs, which we'll talk about later. So this brings us to this new vehicle that you will find on the red side, and this is the Typhoon VBB MRAP. So it's completely new custom model, custom animations, custom placement, scripts, and so on and so forth. It comes in several variants and skins, so we have some armed variants with a 20mm or 30mm cannon. Not sure, don't remember for sure, but it's the same cannon that you will find on the K-17. Same caliber, comes in some desert, woodland, green colors, for instance. And if we have a look at, if you have a look at our filters, let's just leave A for F. And vehicles. You also find some funky versions like this National Guard, Russian National Guard versions. So, what can you find in this vehicle? I already mentioned that we have custom animations, getting in, getting out, fully finished custom interior. Interactions, of course, are also there. Some of the things that you're very used to with, let's say, other RHS vehicles. Let's power on. Okay, this one doesn't work. Let's go for a drive. It's meant mainly as a, let's say, a transport vehicle, but one of the coolest features that we've added in this version, and we've also included on the K17, is that you can actually damage the tires and they will physically deform, and this will affect when driving. So let's get in again. So you can see now the tires deflated when you drive, so this adds a very, very cool visual effect. Like I mentioned, it's also added on the K17. But yeah. Let's have a quick look at the ARM version. Of course, the separation between opening doors and getting in is also there. Let's switch seat to gunner. If we press the fire control system, we have thermal sights. And we've also added, so it has the sort of stabilization. So if you press the space key, you can stabilize the turret. So the driver is changing direction. The turret stays pointed at the target. But also quite an exciting new feature, just like I showed with the SMAW, is that you can do some range finding. So if I press the C key, you will see the number on the lower left corner with the Russian D on it change to signify 380 meters distance. You have to now aim higher. In order to stick down again a bit. So that should make your targeting much easier. So that's the Typhoon VBB vehicle. Also expect improvements in further versions, so this is of course also work in progress. One new cool feature being worked on is improving the GPS capabilities of our mod. So you might be already familiar with the Orion and the Dagger gadgets. So basic idea is that we've started to rework the interaction with these components to give them more functionality, but also change a little bit the way that they work. This will improve over time, but just to demonstrate the newest interaction capability is that now it brings it up to the screen, and you can actually click on various buttons. If we go to the menu page, you can go to the various sub-pages of the display. And they're not all working yet, but some things have already been done. For instance, you can go to the receiver setup, enter, and you can actually see GPS satellites appearing on the screen, and let's say the connectivity to them being displayed on the left side. You can go to the waypoint navigation menu, navigation screen itself, that shows you your position in east and north according to the map coordinates of Arma. your elevation. And what's really cool now is that you also can set up waypoints. So you can create a waypoint. You can actually, you see, navigate through their little built-in keyboard. And let's say we'll call it E5001. Then we it's a bit tricky, but just like the real thing, we can set up the coordinates. For instance, we'll take it to meters north. Elevation. Oh, let's leave that. You can see that waypoint 1 has been entered. So in the future, it will actually let you use the device to navigate correctly to your set waypoints. So you can preset let's say a number of waypoints and navigate through the environment using the device. If we go to navigation now, so right now it doesn't let you navigate yet, but this functionality will come. Similar things have been added to the Orion. This will evolve, but now you have also the ability to click buttons and go to specific navigation pages. So you might notice that we have this new map display, so it's not using the standard Arma controls, but something that we're working on quite intensely on is to make sure that navigation capabilities will be brought to everybody in a very, very expanded fashion. So it's not going to be just your coordinates, which are here the same as on the Dagger, but you will be able to actually do proper navigation with these devices. And things like GPS jamming will come in the future, where devices can be set up to disrupt this. And by the way, GPS devices in maps will still work the same way as it did before, even with this change. So you can drag in your activate the globe icon while in map view. You will see your coordinates with just a standard page, and depending on the device that you have, for instance, if I don't have the Orion but I have the Dagger, the device that you actually have equipped will show in the map menu. You can turn it off. Speaking of map displays, this is also being added to vehicles. Currently still also work in progress, but may be interesting to show. Like on the screens. Of the K17. There will be now custom map displays. And this will be used for identify friendly foe. Capability will display movement of your friendly troops and such. And if any markers being placed for enemies will also be able to be shown here. So next up, maybe let's have a look at some new clothing that's been added. We have some new helmets. In the arsenal, there's a lot of new presets for vests, so have a look. New pouches for the various for the best available. Of course, you can see the vest type that it's meant for: PCGN 2, PCGN 2, and usually the vest is preceding. So you have the vest and then the presets for it right after, then the vest and then the presets for that second vest, and so on. So check out all the new presets. There's quite a lot to see. New pouches and so on and so on. We do have new helmets available. So for the Blue 4, we have all sorts of ACH color variants that are there now. For instance, the gray, tan, with black accents, green, and so on and so on. So we do have this new TBH3A, which is sort of a high-cut ACH helmet that's been added. It's also in various configurations, different than other variants. So for those of you who were upset when ACH high-cut helmets were removed, this is basically the helmet that's specifically there to fill that void. So now you have high-cut ACHs back. What we also have are, so these basically the ACH, but also MiG 2000 variants. I mean, visually they're quite similar to ACH, but that should also be nice for a bit early mid 2000s gameplay. For those of you who are into more of a special operations kind of thing, we also added the OpsCore Fast Special Forces SF helmet, which has a bit of a different Velcro layout, a bit of a different shape as well. So this is quite a nice new helmet in different variants, all high cut, with also new headsets. For the blues, that's about it. For the reds, we can showcase also that the LSZ helmets have now, they previously used to come with covers sort of pre-baked in. Now these covers are detachable. So let's get a cool layout here. So you can also have finally a bare variant of this helmet. So LSZ 1 Mod 2. Pretty cool helmets with new Velcro layouts. Tor L, also uncovered. I might be mistaken, but we might have already had it. So check out these new helmets. I mean, this is quite nice ones. And then if you want the covered variant, you also need the covers for them. So you will need to find those in the arsenal somewhere. I believe in the helmet attachments part. That's not the right one. Also not the right one. Wait. Because it's a Tor helmet. So let's put the Reforger. You have to put the right cover on the right helmet, otherwise it's not going to work. And you have, of course, then more variations, so you have a lot more camo variants that can be applied. Of course, all compatible with patches and other attachment systems that we have. So that takes care of the helmets. Let's have a look at some of the new other clothing that you can find. So you might have already seen on my default character I have this parka for Ion. So Ion, for those that don't know, is our new third faction, which is a PMC. It's from the Arma lore. they have their own crate, which is designated by this black RHS statue. If I have a look at their arsenal, like I already mentioned, you have a sort of mishmash of cool weapons or variants of weapons that you wouldn't typically find in the other two factions. They also have their own unique clothing style. For example, this parka, which comes in the various different variants, but you can also find things like fleece shirts, t-shirts that are brand new, right? So you have the RHS shirt, you have Ion shirt, and you have this parka, which is modeled on these sort of Operation Desert Storm Desert Knight parkas initially. So this is the Desert Knight parka, but there's also variants with different designs. So it's produced by Toxic. So to give your character some swaggy style, you can find them in this arsenal. There's a new gray rugby shirt. And if you haven't played with Ion, highly recommend it. They have some cool camouflages that you won't find in other things, like this frog skin G3 battle shirt, tan coyote things, and I also believe we have somewhere, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, the new Canadian pattern, the multi-terrain cat pat shirt. So again, in the parka style, this pattern is really cool, but you can only find it in Ion. Same goes for some of these weapons. We have added a new M16 with a rail. I believe this one. Yeah, you can see on this weapon a weaver rail that allows you to put rail attachments. Unlike what you could previously do, of course, with the M16A2. So if you'd like to pop a red dot and you really like the M16A2, now it's a possibility. For the Russians, we've also added the AK-101 and 102, if I can find it somewhere. Oh wait, no, this actually might be in the Ion. Yes, the 101. The AK-101 looks like a standard AK, except for the one thing that differentiates it is that it takes NATO 5.56 instead of the Russian 5.45 ammunition. So different caliber, same base model, different magazine. For the rest, it's just your standard AK. 102, I believe, is basically a different gas block version of the same. So it looks like the AK-105, but again takes the M555 ammo from NATO. So standard stuff you can find in the Ion arsenal are just normal M4s and things like the Block 2 with a black rail, so the Daniel defense rail. So that brings us to the next big change for AR-15 style weapons that we've updated in this release, is the complete refactoring of the rail slots for the M4 and M27 platforms, and basically everything that derives from that. And what I mean by that is that previously the slots were basically incorrect, so you couldn't mount attachments to side rails, for instance. Now you can attach side rails. In some cases, we have also the rail covers, of course, that are then fitted specifically to that weapon. So we can detach rail rib covers. And if we get rail attachments, let's have a look at this M4. Let's for instance, if we want to attach a PEC 16, oh no, this is the new PEC, sorry. PEC 16. Typically, in previous versions, you could only attach it to the top rail, which is now not the case. So if we do an inspect, you can also mount it on the side, which gives a lot of more flexibility on the type of things that you can attach. So it's less obstructive on red dot sites, hollow sites, and so on, especially anything low mounted sites. This has been done for all the different variants of the M4 and M27. So if we also have the Block 2s, same story here. Can be mounted on the side. Now, another quite exciting thing with these rails that is worth mentioning is that we've introduced a whole new dynamic rail sliding system. So now attachments, whether it's optics or lasers on side rails, can now be slid along the rail as long as the rail allows it. So this feature is only available on RHS rifles and attachments because it requires new scripts, of course. So it's not, it won't work across the vanilla or other mods. But basically, when you inspect the weapon, now you have this option to move attachment. And if you hold down F or do it with the controls, with gamepad controls, you can see that the attachment can slide. And the cool thing about it is that it takes into account the size of the attachment as well. So the sliding capability will be limited when the actual attachment is too big, to try to limit the problems that you will get with clipping. It works for most of the rails. Let us know if you find a rail that it doesn't work. Of course, if it's RHS, then we can try to fix it. But the other cool thing is that, let's say, for hollow sites and red dot sites, not so much on picture-in-picture sites, but for these smaller sites, what we do is we retain the eye distance to the eye location. So as the site moves, you can see, just take a look at how much of the screen it takes up right now. And if I move this hollow site backwards to another location, see it takes up much more space on the screen, giving me a much wider view through the scope itself. The distance should also be remembered. attach this on this. The location of the site should also be remembered if you save your weapon in the arsenal during multiplayer. So once you respawn, you shouldn't need to redo it for that particular weapon. Of course, if you take another weapon with other attachments, it's not going to work. This is meant to work on that weapon on that site. So the configuration, don't be surprised that it ends up in some other place. But let's have a look if we inspect this weapon. Put it on. What? That's weird. That's a weird. Ah, shit. Of course. Oh. I was fitting it to the wrong weapon and saying that it's weird. Let's put it on the top rail here. Same thing. Move attachment. I can drag it all the way back off that rail. Giving you really some unique combinations that you can do. And it works with every rail, every attachment, so let's have a look at respectively also some of the new things we added, like flashlights, which I'll move on to a bit later. For flashlights, it is especially interesting because very often you don't want the gun obstructing the light cone. So what you can do is, so if I remove this light, and I get the new lost my gun. Okay, no worries. So if I look at our new flashlight here, I can move it all the way to the front as to minimize the obstruction of the light cone by the barrel of the gun. I can demonstrate it quickly. So this is the new Surefire M300C. You can see that the light cone is very, very clear from obstruction of the barrel. If I move it back, you can see the shadow on the right of the cone of the barrel appearing. So it's kind of cool. So that brings us to these new lights that also been added. So we've added I think 3 lights to the blue 4 sight and 1 light to the red 4. So for blue 4 you just saw we have the Surefire M300C. What we've also added are the SU-233 PVS. So this is something that you quite often see on submod guns. The M300C also comes in tan version. The Ion crew get their own light, which is the WML, which is a very small light. So let's put it on the second rifle. It's now sitting on the top rail, so put it on the side. They have fire mode. Some of them have infrared mode, so you can only see them with night vision on. And that's what it looks like on the model. And what's really cool is on the Russian side we have introduced a Zenitko Clash 2, which has also some of the functionality, some of its real functionality reproduced, like strobing as well. So now you can carry flashlight and laser combos much easier on the railing setup. To stop fiddling around with laser switching to light mode, for instance, you can have the flashlight separate. And if I find the Clash 2, which is this like over here, which is a nifty little flashlight, which has infrared and also strobe mode. So you can see mostly used for blinding enemies inside a house. And has our mode. So now you cannot see the light cone, but if I put on some night vision, you can see, well, hopefully if I can move it to a different position on the side rail. We have an infrared light cone. Again, that is not visible there. In normal visible light, this is the same kind of functionality is present on the SU-233 flashlight for the Americans. Which has a the inventory system in Arma is still very nice. Which has this IR filter, which drops down if you turn on infrared. Alright, so that's it for the new flashlights. We'll be probably adding some other ones at some point also. By the way, rail sliding system was also present on non-AR weapons. So AKs with rails also have this capability. M240 has this capability. That's pretty cool. What else? Yes, there's also something that I already mentioned, which is the PSQ-23 Storm attachment. So let's have a look at that, because it comes with some really cool new functionality that we haven't seen before. In other laser attachments, so first of all, it's huge. It's meant for other types of weapons. than the M27 and the M4 platforms, but let me just show you what it can do. So what you can do with it is you can turn it on. It has kind of the modes that you're already used to. Aim high, aim low, so low powered lasers, high powered lasers, and so on. So let's put aim high. And you can see night vision infrared laser is there. And I have a light somewhere. Where's the light shining from? Okay, that's one of the lights was still on. But what you can see, and maybe it's again better if I drop this on a side rail, is there is a screen on this attachment, which brings us to a kind of new unique feature for this one, is it has a rangefinder. So right now, if you're using laser or aiming down, as long as it's on, and you will see the rangefinder keybind on the left corner with the list of all the keybinds, and it's the I key for India. And if I press it, you will see the azimuth, which is 358. And if I inspect the site, we'll also see a range to the object that I tried to scan. So let's have a look at the BTR, which we know is about 200 meters. I mean, it is tricky to aim, don't get me wrong. It's at 201 meters. It's meant also for your convenience on the SMAW, as I showed in the beginning, because it really comes integrated into that. Let's put this into the top rail. You can see the numbers easier. House, press I, 145 meters. And the azimuth at 348 degrees. So that's the PSQ 23 store. Alright, a couple of new things. We also have URGI rifles incoming. I don't know whether they will be available in the arsenals when 0.10 comes out, but it's still worth showing them because some progress is being made on them. Let's see where the URGIs are. So you might be familiar, so it's a very different style of rail. It's M-lock rails and only a top integrated rail in various colors. And they will also have the M-lock side attachment slot, which will allow you to put a flashlight on the side, for instance, but you will also see a new charging handle, which allows you to which is a bit different than your regular M27 or M4 platforms. Like I said, URGIs will probably come at some point later into the box at 0.10, not necessarily on release, but you could potentially already find them if you know your way around Workbench, or if you're using scripts to add weapons, RHS weapons to other crates without a problem. By the way, you can also move picture-in-picture attachments, but the eye stationing will not keep like we do on red dots. That's because eye relief on these magnifiers would not really work with keeping an eye in the same place. Some other URGIs that you'll be finding in the release at some point. Alright, one last thing to mention is the closed air support system functionality, which gained some new additions in 0.10. So you might have already been familiar with the some of the systems that we had previously. Let's enable system filtering. And you might have already seen, of course, the F-18 GBU-12 and the KH-55 cruise missile. We also have added the Fab 500 UMPK for the Red 4. And you might also see F-22 and Su-57 flybys. Now let's first have a look at the Fab 500. It works the same way as we did with previous cast systems. Just placeable. And we'll make sure to try to integrate everything into the colon system using the laser designators. Sorry, laser rangefinders we have in the game already. Cap 500 is literally a dumb bomb, some very rudimentary guidance. Now the other two, the F-22 and Su-57 flybys, they do not deliver any payload, but rather are simply just a visual flyby. You will see 3 F-22s flying by over the sea. Purely a cool addition, you know, to your scenarios. And that's it, dear listeners. These are some of the things that you will be able to find in 0.10. I hope you enjoyed. Like I said, we'll try to make more of these overview videos to just give you a better idea of what are the things that are being added with each major release. I hope that the style of this video can also improve, so it's a little less developy and a little bit done with a little bit more preparation. We'll see about that, but for now this will have to do. And yeah, I hope you're looking forward to 0.10 as much as we look forward to releasing it. There's lots of new cool things. Keep an eye on the changelog page. As I said, everything gets documented there. That's relevant to the end users. We need to make sure that also server owners understand the changes that are coming through and properly utilize them into their scenarios. Make sure that everything's playable. Thank you very much and keep playing.